Hey guys, welcome to the show. I wanted to talk today about anniversary watches, the idea of anniversary watches, whether you like them, whether you consider them a gimmick, whether you are kind of ambivalent about them. They have become a very common feature of the watch market. Every year, every single release cycle, every brand does something. Usually it's an occasion to bring out a new dial color, maybe jump on a bandwagon about a certain hyped up dial color. And frankly, I would like to say that I'm ambivalent about it, but I think by now I really uh, think that it's yet another area where brands seem to be running out of ideas and recycling certain things. Hey, George Varghese, good morning from Bali. Hope all is well back home. Thank you. Thank you. I hope it's even better in Bali, George. It's nice to see you. I was mostly inspired, of course, about this when I was thinking of the new 30th anniversary Jlc Master Control calendar and Master Control date. And both of these watches I actually like quite a bit. The models, I should say, I like quite a bit. But especially with the Master Control calendar, I really thought that that particular dial color in blue was actually really stealing the shine of the night blue sky, of course, of the moon phase, which should, more or less be the highlight of this watch. It should be at the center of the spotlight when you have a triple date complication with a moon phase. That should be at the center of the watch. And somehow I think it turns it into a very one-dimensional watch, right? You see the day and month indication too are rendered in also another shade of blue, which makes them blend in perhaps really nicely, but also nothing stands out. I mean, the hands do, of course, the index markers, 12, 3, and 9 o'clock as well. But the rest of the watch, I don't know. I think, for example, this watch, which is, of course, already in the collection, is much better rendered in white. This is not a great photo, I don't think, because it kind of makes everything seem so washed out. But actually, the index markers and the Dauphine hands, which also have a little bit of luminous material in them, actually stand out quite well. The sky looks great. The moon, it's not all that special. It's not altogether artistic or anything like they do it in some of these moon phase displays. But nevertheless, I think the night sky really looks beautiful against that white finish of the dial. Except, of course, yes, the official name is silvered gray sunray brushed. I think it's distinct enough from the index markers and from the hands, and of course, altogether contrasting with the night sky, which makes me like it a little more. I know in earlier iterations of this model, they actually had a black dial. This is the pink gold version, right? Of course, with the dial actually having all the accoutrements in the same precious metal. Of course, that makes it shine just a little bit better. Thomas says, terrific steep bezel. Yes, I think this master control is a great design. As some of you know, this whole concept of 1,000 hours of master quality control was introduced with these simple, beautiful, round-shaped cases first, and then spread to the entirety of the Jlc collection. And the 90s were a very exciting period of revival for JLC, of course, under their CEO, Henri John Belmont, and of course under the guidance of Günther Blümlein as well. And it was a period, of course, with the 60th anniversary edition. They started really using, pardon me, reversal. Well, the 60th anniversary edition really, I should say, announced the revival of the reversal. And they used reversal as their flagship and as their main canvas to affect what some have called the democratization of complications, right? And you can see it here as well. You have a watch when executed in steel has a prestige complication. Okay, it's not perpetual calendar. It's not even annual calendar, but you have a triple date, beautifully executed, rendered in steel. And you have, when you look at the movement, you have a movement that's decorated very nicely and adorned with that rotor weight in precious metal. What else can you ask for? And again, retail prices on this one, 12,200. On the 30th anniversary edition, it is a little more, 13,100. This is one of the things that I do appreciate about JLC, by the way, that they don't price gouge on anniversary editions, right? They bring out anniversary editions, and there is a little bit of a surcharge on them, but it's not exaggerated. It's not overblown. Angelic Slayer, welcome. Thomas Broadbent, again, welcome back to the channel. It's really nice to see you. 5 more subs and you'll be at 500. Yes, and I've also just gone through the halfway mark in terms of the watch hours as well. So we're basically halfway there. I just need to put in the work. I pinned the link. If you want to jump on the panel, feel free to just click, and I'm very happy to have you all on board. If not, I'm happy to have you in the chat as well. I think you do a great job in guiding me, in directing me in the right way. But yes, if you haven't upvoted yet, please do so. Spread the word, share the channel with your friends, and help me get to 1,000 subs, which is my first major goal. Thomas says sharpness of features, moon engraved platinum or white gold would send it to another level. Absolutely. But again, JLC, along with IWC, since the 90s has been leading this path of really democratizing, really making accessible a lot of the complicated watches. And of course, again, we have to recognize this. I say it about Tissot, Longines, and Omega within the Swatch Group watch brands. They all have their place, and they have to follow a grand strategy, as it were, and they can't just do what they want. And the same thing goes, for better or worse, with IWC, JLC, and Lange, right? So I don't mean to say that JLC doesn't release watches in white gold. I'm not saying they don't release watches in platinum. They have some exquisite reversos and other watches in precious metals. But I think a lot of the round-shaped prestige grand complications in platinum and precious metals with hand finished movements, etc. That kind of work is more or less left to Lange within the Richemont brand of Richemont family of watch brands, I should say. Same thing with the moon phase, right? They're gonna give you a simple and beautiful execution of that complication. They're gonna have a decent disc there, but the most decorated hand engraved version, more or less, they're gonna reserve it for either Lange, or they're gonna have like something like the four-faced Reverso, like an ultra exclusive model that is an application piece anyways. Again, I'm not lodging a complaint here. I think this is actually something I enjoy about JLC, right? For those who know and for those who appreciate the brand, especially on the secondary market, they just provide such a great value proposition. Aussie expat, sorry can't join tonight, watching Batman with the wife. I watched it twice in theater and already 1.5 times on HBO Max, so I can't blame you. It's pretty good. It has a pretty tough competition in the Nolan trilogy, right? Which is a little unfair, because that was just one of the best trilogies of recent time, and not only in terms of comic adaptations or superhero movies. If you ask me, I'm a little biased, but nevertheless, I think that's a very tough competition, and it's also unfair because that's a completed story, that's a finished narrative arc. And just to pit it against one movie seems unfair. So for what it is, I really enjoyed the Batman, and I look forward to seeing the sequel, especially after the deleted scene was revealed. Thomas says, look at that crown stance and detail. Yes, actually, just let's go to, where was I? Right, as you see, it's not, the moon phase and the disc they prepared for that. It doesn't really deserve complaint. right? But the more hand worked, hand engraved, the more artistic ones they're going to keep for some of their other brands, or for highly exclusive watches if it is going to be under the JLC banner. Both of these watches are going to be limited to 800 pieces. I think it's a numbered edition, so they're not just gonna stop after 2022. Nevertheless, I think my expectation is they will probably sell out quite quickly. Big Meat says, "Get your Bibles out, folks." It's you're funny. You're funny. I respect all faiths, all sorts of religious belief and lack thereof. As long as you have an ethical compass, as long as you have a moral backbone, as long as you have principles, you are more than welcome. Red Sea, good day to you as well. It's so nice to see you. Thomas Broadbent says, let's make that happen tonight, which is to reach 500 subscribers. I'm only 5 subs away from that. I would really appreciate it if you could somehow spread the word and get me to 500. Let's round it up. It would make me really happy. Rick Butt says, Friday fun day with the LHV. Thank you, Rick. J617, thoughts on the new generation JLC versus IWC movements. Both are in-house, but they feel lacking, in my opinion. LOL. I think we are kind of circling back to that grouping of brands under a single umbrella, right? Within a single global conglomerate. They just can't overstep their bounds, right? If you want the highest level of finishing done by hand and to every single piece of the movement within the Richemont family, you will have to go to Lange, period. JLC and IWC will always continue to somehow, again, release those movements at, maybe one notch down, insofar as, insofar as hand finishing. I have started noticing, for example, even when I look at the dials of the older reversos, the guilloche work and the engine turning work that has been done on older generations, to me seems just better, seems more three-dimensional, if you know what I mean. I'm pretty sure they still use the same engines. Are they dedicating less hours? Are they doing this on purpose? I don't know, but I really, that's my gut feeling. I think it has a lot to do with the positioning of the brand within the larger conglomerate. Everything that is that prestigious, everything that supposedly belongs to high horology, I shouldn't say everything and exaggerate, but most of it will be left to Lange, and IWC has its own heritage of certain watches and movements. They're going to focus on that, and JLC is going to focus on the Reversal, on the Master Control, and on the Polaris. And when they want to do something really prestige, and I'm talking about Jlc in this case, they're probably going to execute it in some special interpretation of Reverso and the multiple faces that watch has. I think that's it. At the end of the day, in-house doesn't necessarily mean better. In this case, I think maybe the quality more or less remains the same, but we are spoiled a little. We have seen better. People keep saying this, and I don't think they are exaggerating, but in terms of the finishing of movements, especially, and in terms of the architectural building of watch movements, especially chronographs, I think Lange just upped the game and changed, really showed a different level to the Swiss in a way they weren't expecting. And in many ways, I think they are playing catch up at this point. And maybe it is better to focus on different aspects, to have something robust, reliable, and something that still looks good, but perhaps hasn't received the same sort of man hours and attention as something that costs 2-3 times as much, if not more. I do, Thomas. Do you really think Richemont is limiting them? I think so. I'm not saying it necessarily in a negative way. I'm not trying to put it in a negative light, but I think I think they are positioned within Richemont in a particular way, and except for very exclusive releases, except for application pieces, we can see patterns, and that's the pattern I've been seeing with JLC. Thomas Broadbent says, my observation is JLC fosters an environment of passion and creativity. They encourage, as the French say, savoir-faire. I can't disagree with that. Actually, I completely agree with this, and I don't think it goes against what I said necessarily. It's the unbridled creativity goes to the very limited production pieces, those pieces that you probably watched the Watches and Wonders movie they did, right? And I'm calling it a movie for one reason, because it was like a French art house production, and you really had to appreciate it, right? It didn't look like they were trying to market a product for mass consumerism. So they do have a lot of passion and a lot of creativity in JLC. I think they still deserve the name the watchmaker's watchmaker, but maybe a certain level of artistic and architectural expression when it comes to hand finished movements. I do think they reserve that within the Richemont family to Lange. But of course, we can agree to disagree. Jay says, well said, it just feels like the safe play in horology. Yes, and sometimes there's nothing wrong with it, right? There's a reason why a lot of us love Rolex, because Rolex plays it safe, because Rolex produces recognizable models that we can count on year after year, evolution over revolution, cosmetic changes over overhauls, minute modifications and technological innovations over sudden progress or artistic expression, right? We still have in Rolex solid case backs, and we love it because we know what to expect. from Rolex. So sometimes actually there is virtue in brands that play it safe. There is certainly a lot to gain from them if they have found the winning formula for them. And I think JLC has carved its niche. They have been trying all sorts of product placement strategies. You must have seen um, like specifically made trailers for the new Doctor Strange movie, where you have basically the Doctor Strange watch as a protagonist, more or less. But it's only going so far. We'll see. Maybe in the um, next few years, or maybe over the next decade, we'll be speaking something else. Um, Actually, Thomas puts it exactly in that way. JLC is the Arabian horse bloodline for watches and watchmakers, right? It's kind of like the dark horse. Maybe suddenly, before, in the last stretch, we will see them overtaking some of the brands. Why not? It can happen. It can happen. Don't let the cynic in me limit your imagination and your aspiration for certain brands. If you're gonna invest any emotion, if you're gonna uh, put any expectation on a watch brand, I think Jlc is one of the most deserving. But yeah, to circle back to that idea of anniversary watches, I think both of these watches, while having that beautiful shade of blue in their dials, to me, it actually, in these watches and in these cases, that takes away from what these watches are about. Again, when Master Control was introduced in 1992, I'm looking for my water. The idea was to have a reliable, pardon me, round-shaped, simple, and elegant model within the JLC lineup. And I think both of these watches here, the Master Control date and the Master Control calendar, would be better served by by a white dial, or by what they call that silvered gray sunburst dial. When it comes to the moon phase, I think maybe, I know that is also overplayed and salmon is not the hype color anymore, but I think for something like this, for a complication like this, maybe some shade of salmon, or like a very light pink in sunburst, wouldn't that be great? I don't know. I think that could be really nice, especially in its contrast with the moon phase there, with the night blue of that sky there. Anyway, and yeah, this would shine so much better in a plain white, very bright white, perhaps, or otherwise just what they have in the current lineup, again, as a dial silvered gray, which is quite light as well. Again, Eric was saying yesterday night, Eric Al, that this increases legibility. You always have the option of black. Not that there shouldn't be blue dials. Don't take me wrong. Maybe I'm just a little exhausted from that hype that lasted for quite a long time with steel watches and blue dials. Maybe it made me a little cynical. But at the end of the day, I think, when you make an anniversary watch, I feel like you owe it to the audience, it to the customer. You owe it to the customer something special, something a little more innovative than a new dial color and a matching strap. I don't know. Maybe it's just the cynic in me. Eric, yes, I was just talking about you actually, and how um, you defended the choice of blue in these watches yesterday, um, for increased legibility, which I agree with. But of course, that could have been, yeah, that could have happened with any darker shade, as well as a black dial they already have. BC, welcome to the channel, man. Thank you for dropping by. Thomas says JLC boutiques provide a great experience. Celine in New York City has been a devotee of the brand. They will take care of you. The one in Beverly Hills is quite fine as well, and it's actually run by Richemont, and they're usually great. Actually, a lot of the Richemont brands are, when it comes to the boutique experience, they're great. Lange is great. Vacheron, whenever I went there, has been just exquisite in terms of how they treat a customer. I think they have a good. I think they're trained well, and they are, they hire well, and I think they know what they have in their hands. They know quite a great deal about their watches, and that adds to the experience. Salmon would be great. Thomas agrees, as would Off-White. Thomas says JLC movements in AP offshore perpetual. Yes, of course, AP, until the brand was sold off to and integrated to Richemont, of course, AP used to own, I think, 40% of Jlc, and a lot of that relationship, of course, emerged from how they have been using, since early 20th century, a lot of the ultra thin Jlc movements in their watches, as you know, up until the most recent generation, the 50th anniversary of Audemars Piguet Royal Oak watches, in reference 16202, they were still using the movement based on the JLC ébauche. Of course, by now, until 2020, until the end of last year, 2021, they were, of course, building everything from scratch in-house, but they were still using the same design and the same structure and architecture as it was initially built and supplied to them by Jlc. And in Panerai, too, Thomas says. That made those watches so durable, you don't service until you have an issue. Yes, I think JLC makes great movements. I dare say, although again, maybe it's not a fair comparison, but a lot of AP chronograph movements used to be based, as you know, on Frédéric Piguet. Same thing with a lot of the Vacheron Constantin automatic chronograph movements as well. And of course, that's a more complicated movement than an ultra thin three-hander with a date module on top of it. But I feel those are great, robust, reliable, and well built and well structured movements. Pardon me. Of course, one of the things that made reversal so popular among horological enthusiasts, and at least for me, um, is the fact that they have movements that are built for that watch, shaped for that case, um, and fit just perfectly, right? You don't have like a round shaped movement in that reversal case. That would be just a waste, and of course a very kind of bad form for a brand that likes to be called the watchmaker's watchmaker, right? So that's why a lot of the reversos that were supposed to be sportier and that have automatic movements, I think that's one of the reasons they never caught on, because a lot of them have those round shaped movements, um, with a rotor, of course, and it just never clicked for most. For me, certainly, it never clicked. But for most people, to have a reverso with a round shaped movement, an automatic movement, it just doesn't inspire in the same way, right? Because in the other example, in the manual movements, you have something that's just perfect, that fits, right? Every gear clicks somehow. Eric L says JLC has enamel experience too. Of course, of course. But again, I think, thank you for bringing it up. For example, these days, if you have a reverso in steel, they don't actually give you the enamel experience. If you want, an enamel painting or any sort of enamel decoration on the case back of your reverso, you have to go with something in precious metal. Otherwise, you're limited with engravings, or engravings accentuated with the lacquer they also apply. So that's another way of talking about how JLC is, kept in check somehow within a larger global family of watch brands. I don't think it's, again, I'm not saying this as something that's horribly negative and unacceptable, but it's just the state of affairs for me. Yeah, the movement is like a 1 million mile engine. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I just adore about my Reverso Grand Date, which is the same one that the Pontiff has, of course, is the 8-day power reserve. And if you dare, of course, you can crank it to the bitter end while you are actually winding it up. And it's actually 8 plus. It lasts for more than 8 days, except, of course, JLC wanted to stay true to their word, and it's only it runs to their standards for 8 days, and anything longer than that, I think the interval they have in plus minus seconds kind of diverges from the standard they set themselves. So Thomas says, yeah, what was the 8-day top of the line in platinum called? I don't know. Was the number 2 is the tourbillon in platinum, right? So that's a different model. George Varghese says, to me, these anniversary editions are similar to limited pieces. Exactly. This particular JLC was actually an anniversary edition, a 30th anniversary edition of the Master Control, limited to 800 pieces. So you have the kind of perfect storm there. Look at Hublot. Every watch is limited. It's a marketing ploy. I can't disagree. I can't disagree. Yeah, guys, Eric is in the chat, so I can thank him again. He thinks I look more civilized now that I've had a haircut. I was going to ask, should the beard stay or should it go? Maybe I should open a poll on that in the chat and see if you see what you guys think. Should my beard stay? Yes or no? George says, and of course you might know that George is a collector of Lange. He says, I don't own a JLC. However, what would you recommend for a daily wear? I would recommend 2 watches, because I don't know if you would enjoy or you would like a reverso. If you like a reverso, I would get one that fits you, that is for your wrist. If you have a wrist that is bigger than 6 inches in diameter, 6.5, get one in Grantai steel. You can get something a little more complicated, right? Let me bring out my Grantai as an example. I wear that on a daily basis and don't simply treat it as a dress piece. And because it's steel, I think it can kind of straddle both the formal and sporty dimensions. So there we go. This is the Reverso Grande. It's a little thicker than the average Reverso, but I think it fits. It has a little more presence. You know, it has the asymmetric dial. You can get these under 8K easily. I got mine for even cheaper, but that was a great dial. Of course, you get the benefit of the exhibition case back, you know, for that spring barrel, 8-day power reserve movement, the rubies, the blued screws. Hard to impress someone who has Langes, but still, I think this is almost itself an Art Deco or Art Deco piece when you look at the movement. Anything in the Grantai case, I think, would fit you. They'll be a little thinner. They will be, of course, a 3-hander with seconds on the sub dial at the center here at 6 o'clock. One of the nice things about a lot of the JLC straps is, of course, they have this open lip there, right? So you can take them off very easily. This is actually an aftermarket strap that I got from Hermes to match the kiln-fired blue hands. But I also have their Casa Fagliano canvas straps that make the watch look really a little sportier for daily wear. And these come in different colors, you know, the more plain as well, like a sand kind of canvas here, sand and brown. You know, I think this watch is like a chameleon, kind of befitting, of course, its two-faced character, and of course, befitting me too, apparently, because some people like to think of me as a two-faced person. That's just perfect. But yes, this watch actually can be quite modular and can be quite versatile as a daily wear in steel. If you can find, actually, speaking of limited editions, they had a great limited edition for 2011, which was, of course, the 80th anniversary of the Reversal. I'll bring it up right now. It was made for the US, and it was kind of a rendition of early 1930s Reversals with a black dial, and it had syringe hands. Those are, yes, the upper left hand is the power reserve indicator. I need to charge it. I'll start wearing it tomorrow again. I think I will wear it for the next 8 days after that. I do love a manual watch. I do love a hand-wound watch. That's one of the things that I adore about the Reverso. Thank you all for the nice words. But what was I saying? Yes, so the ultra thin 80th anniversary steel US limited edition. That's a beautiful watch. It's harder to find. I'll show you the standard edition they have. But the limited one, if you can find it, is, I think, more beautiful. You know, I really like this one. We got up first. George. We can see it, right? So that's it. You see, it's in steel. It's actually thinner than the watch I just displayed, and in the tradition of vintage reversos, actually, this is a pure two-hander. It's not even, it doesn't even have seconds, and it has the case back as a blank canvas, so it's perfect for personalization and engraving. You see, it's a very slim profile. The thickness is 7.23, so it can be really discreet, but it has, you know, Reverso is a watch with a strange presence. So as slim as it is, as small as you might think it is, because of the shape, because of the swiveling case, it just wears and appears so differently from anything else, even from other rectangular walls. The station of this is the, let me see, Reverso 1931. 80th anniversary steel. So if you like the reversals, that can be an option. This is very overpriced here, so don't even pay attention to the price if you have seen it. These you should be able to get for around 10K. The limited edition, possibly all the way up to 15, or maybe a little more. The one with the syringe hands that I displayed before. Now, the one, if say you are not really on board with the reverso shape, with the reverso case, I would highly recommend these now discontinued sector dial master control. I think they're beautiful dress watches in steel. They have that vintage aesthetic. They have the beautiful syringe hands, as you can see again. Those blue accents, I think, are a really nice touch. And it's just a beautiful watch to wear on an everyday basis. Again, it has a beautiful JLC movement with that skeletonized gold rotor. So you won't feel like you are taking a major step down from your Lange. Still, of course, this is much more humble. And you can, of course, have the chance to play around with the straps and see whether you want to take it a step up and make it perhaps a little more formal, or wear it with a strap like this, which gives it a more casual, sporty feel. And these you should be able to get under 8K, maybe 7.5K USD. I think that could be a great. Oh my God. I do this all the time, George and everyone else. I'm so sorry. I was basically looking at the watch on my own amateur hour. This is what I was talking about. So if you're somehow not on board with the reverso case, you have the master control sector dial that they released maybe 5 years ago now, and that is now discontinued. Beautiful steel dress watch, has that vintage aesthetic, the syringe hands, the blue accents on the dial and the date wheel, automatic movement with that beautiful skeletonized gold rotor. Again, perhaps a step down from Lange, but not that far down. Great daily wear. Maybe on a black alligator strap. It could be even more formal on a strap like this, like, on taupe. It brings out a sportier, more dynamic element of the watch, which I think is really great. And you should be able to get these. Again, this is just a random listing I found on Chrono like that. You should be able to get these under 8K, maybe more like a 7.5. I think that's beautiful. Thank you. Meatball says, what production dates? Actually, my papers for this is not dated. It's from Sincere Watches in Singapore, because it came with the single fold strap, a single fold buckle, I should say. It has to be before 2005. I think that's when JLC changed to a butterfly clasp. I'm guessing it's O1 or O2, but yeah, the warranty papers are not dated. My only way of dating this is the original clasp that I still have here, which is single fold déployant, rather than the butterfly clasp they introduced after '05, '06. And the model itself was discontinued, of course. Pardon me. Reversal grant date was discontinued, of course, in 2012. It had a production run for about a decade before it was discontinued a decade ago. So you'll have to go on the secondary market to fetch one. Burgundy, for the dial, you mean? Yeah, I think that's honestly both the green and burgundy from the recent tribute series, if that's what we're talking about. I like them both. I like them both. Right, the tribute series has that ground tie case dimensions. Again, a blank canvas on the case back for personalization. They have gone now for this Art Deco sunray decoration for the carriage itself. I don't mind. I think that brings out maybe the dressier aspect of the watch. But yeah, I kind of have a soft spot for the older engine turned perlage decoration. I'll show an example of that right now. This is the burgundy dial that Thomas had mentioned. And one dial color or another gets hyped up once every so often, but more recently, all of the dial colors, whether we're talking about blue sunburst, burgundy sunburst, or the green, and trust me, all of these look much better and much richer in person than these stock photos here. They're all trending right under the list price on the secondary market. Hey, Mr. P. Yeah, so this is the burgundy. That's the case back that you can use for personalization, or simply flip around, I guess, and have it as that nice little party trick. Again, all of these colors look much richer and much more interesting in person. I've had the chance to look at them in the boutique. The new generation of tributes have this sunray decoration on the carriage, which is, very much of the Art Deco style, and it does bring the more elegant, dressier aspect of the watch for sure. But I do really prefer what you still had in this watch. For example, you can see the engine turned decorations, the perlage, as they call in French. I think that's a very nice touch overall. Yeah, Mr. P, thank you. Nice to see you as well. Yes, so the the big date, Grand Date, was produced for about a decade before it was discontinued a decade ago. Mine should be right around 01 or 02, but certainly before 05, because it still has that single clasp. JLC is a quiet achiever. Yeah, I think that's actually a beautiful way to put it. Thank you, Meatball. I enjoy that. I will use that myself. I'll use that myself. One thing I can say, since I started by talking about how sometimes the anniversary models might seem gimmicky, and I use JLC as an example because they just introduced a new dial color. Let me start apologizing for them in this case, because one of the things they have been doing again since 1991, right, which was the 60th anniversary of the Reverso, was to introduce new complications every 10 years, especially, right? So let's check some of those out. They have been trending in the secondary market. So for example, the 60th anniversary model, which I would love to have, actually. A lot of times these models are executed in pink gold. By the way, I just received a very generous contribution from one of the supporters of this channel, Corrado Galizia, with PayPal. I know it's a full name, but that's the name he uses on YouTube as well. So that's why I don't mind sharing it like that. Thank you so much. It really makes everything possible. Guys, again, we just past the 1 hour mark. So if you have been watching the content and enjoying it, please upvote, hit that like button. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I'm only a few members away from reaching what is the halfway mark for me, 500 subs, because my first major goal is 1,000 subs. So help me reach my goal, spread the word, tell your friends about the channel. And in the meantime, before I get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, if you want to encourage me in creating new and original content, consider making a contribution on PayPal at lordhellespontv@gmail.com. That's lordhellespontv@gmail.com. I also have a Cash App, which is $LHVVV, $LHVVV. Thank you so much, Corrado. I really appreciate that. It helps a great deal. So this was kind of the Reverso that brought it all to this day. It's in beautiful pink gold. It's the 60th anniversary edition, Reverso 60e, that came out in 1991. Here it is sold in as a full set, number 321 of 500. A great number too, man. Very, very tempting. Of course, this is a relatively simple complication, even though it's executed in a very aesthetic way, right? Look at that guilloche decoration in different parts of the dial. It's just incredible. You have the power reserve there, right? Roughly 45 hours. You have the date indicator, and you have the seconds on the sub dial in pink gold. And you have, in fact, the entire movement on the back in pink gold as well. What a beautiful watch. And again, this is the one that started the revival. This was an anniversary edition, limited to 500 pieces, but it was something that was really meaningful at the time, because this was the first time they actually added a complication in a reversal case, right? And then they continued that tradition, basically. So in the, what a nice case as well. Look at that beautiful wooden box. Love it. Love it. And imagine what it would be if this was a Patek, for example, right? What kind of price tag would we be talking about? Let's see if there are any 70th year. Yes. So this is a platinum reversal, also a limited edition. It has the 8-day power reserve. I think this was the 8-day power reserve big dates in platinum that you were talking about, Thomas, earlier. Released in 2001. It has the day-night indicator. It has the 8-day power reserve, big dates, platinum, seconds on the sub-dial. This is the movement that the Grand Date in steel inherits, and in a slightly modified fashion. This watch is, of course, in platinum. You can see with the matching platinum buckle, déployant. And as you can see, this is the dual spring barrel movement that is also there in my version of the watch. The platinum déployant there. And this is a little saltier, of course. An example sold out of Malta. Original box. Oh, sorry, Monaco. I'm sorry. Why did I think it was Malta? Monaco. Very nice. Yeah, so I think that was the platinum one that Thomas was talking about earlier. Yes, what was the JLC 8-day? Let me see. What was the JLC 8-day top of the line in platinum called? This is it, septantième, which simply means the 70th. Guichet date opening there, 8-day power reserve there, day-night indicator there, and seconds on the sub-dial. You have the Art Deco Arabic numerals. Pardon me, you have the applied JLC, or JL rather, logo there, which is something that I really like and appreciate. And this could be a very special watch to get for the right person as well. And as you remember, in the 60th anniversary edition, the movement was in matching pink gold. In this case, it is in white gold, which I don't mind. I think platinum on platinum could have been a little top heavy. I'm sure this is still a very top heavy watch anyways, but hey, it's a limited edition. It's a special edition. It's an anniversary edition, but a meaningful one that actually introduced a movement that was there to stay. The hand wound 8-day power reserve, which supposedly JLC has lost money on actually in serving. So, hey, well, I have heard this. The JLC service, unlike some of the brands that it aspires to be compared to, such as the so-called big three, it's on the cheaper side. So I can imagine that a movement like that might actually be a pain for them to service for the standard of care they actually take. And in the 80th year, as I just mentioned, they came out with the ultra thin 1931 tribute models, which they have carried until now. Oh, I like this account, Watch Wizard. It's quote unquote a troll account, but I actually enjoy the sense of humor. He says, "Hail, my nephew. I would be proud to call someone like Wizard my uncle." So, hello, uncle. It's so nice to see you. And it is so gracious and generous of you to join us, guys. The link is pinned. I'm gonna send it again. Everyone is welcome, including all the troll accounts, of course, especially if you are willing to do a good impression of some of these characters. You know how much we appreciate that. I had a hard time holding back tears when Bear was talking to Bear just a few days ago. It's crazy. I just want to wear this watch now that I brought it out. Got me all hyped up about Reverso. Logan Hall stopping by to say hi and leave an upvote. That's very generous of you. Thank you for doing that. You know, I appreciate it because every single interaction helps me gain more exposure. Every single upvote really helps to put me on the map. I really appreciate all of you guys. It really, really does help. I'm gonna just put this on and soldier on. Yes. Are there any other anniversary editions that come to your mind whether you think it's a poor execution and simply a gimmick, marketing ploy, or whether it's something that you thought was truly innovative, really deserving and becoming of that particular brand, feel free to share. I will switch gears a little bit, and of course, go back to Sea Dweller 43 when it came out, of course, for the first time as a 50th anniversary edition. I want to see, yes, I want to see one of the earlier articles because, as you know, already, as is the case with all the different Rolex releases, we already have like 3 marks, right? And the Mark 1 and Mark 2 are, of course, distinguished by that crown between Swiss and made, which indicates the new and improved movement. And there's also, of course, the case that some people noted the first generation, at least some of the watches, had a defective movement that started to lose time within the first year of its delivery. But this was 2017, of course, and they brought out, Rolex brought out Sea Dweller 126600, Sea Dweller 43, as we usually call it, all in steel with the red lining. It had some controversial elements, which we will get back to. But all in all, I thought this was a beautiful homage to those first Sea Dwellers. Some of you vintage enthusiasts would know that the very desirable vintage Sea Dwellers are called the double red, right? That's the 4-digit 1665 double red Sea Dweller. And the reason it's called double red is, I just want to show you quickly an example of it, is because it has 2, not 1, but 2 lines of red writing where it has Sea Dweller and also Submariner 2000. And of course, you see the domed acrylic crystal there. That, by definition, did not have Cyclops, right? Did not have that date magnifier. These tropic acrylic domed crystals. And of course, one of the more controversial elements of this watch when it was introduced was that date magnifier, that Cyclops. In addition to, of course, the case size, which, if you ask me, actually got the proportions right, and for the first time had the Sea Dweller in its distinct identity, so to speak, rather than simply being a thicker Submariner. Again, when it comes to the double red and some of the more distinctive 4-digit and later vintage Sea Dwellers, that's not something that I consider as a shortcoming, really. But in the recent generations, I felt the Sea Dweller was becoming a little tired as a line, and it needed something to distinguish itself. And this was a beautiful way of bringing it to its glory. even though the double reds are very popular in the vintage scene and very desirable, actually the very first Sea Dwellers, the prototypes introduced in years 1967, had a single line of red writing. So this pays homage to that. And it gets the proportions right. The bracelet is the right size and taper. It has the rightly proportioned clasp. And when it comes to the Cyclops, since we have already transitioned years and years ago to sapphire crystals that are relatively flat, and now that it's technologically possible to place that drop of water aesthetic Cyclops on this watch, I think it belongs there. Once again, I actually like it as a design element because to me, it's really it's almost natural. It belongs on a dive watch because once again, to me, it really reminds me of a random drop of water that ends up on the crystal and somehow magnifying an element that falls under it. So to me, it belongs to this aesthetic. Anyways, I love the vintage stuff that is in plastic, that is in a domed crystal, but in a sapphire crystal, I can't really complain about the existence of a Cyclops. So I think this makes the Sea Dweller a very proportionally larger counterpart of the Submariner in the current lineup of the Submariner 41, and it's just I think it's just a beautiful addition and something I think that is worthy of an anniversary watch in a way that you don't just have a different dial color, you don't just have the red writing, but you have finally a Sea Dweller that sits in its own place on the table, that sits in its own place in the Rolex contemporary lineup, that pays homage to the vintage classic, that also has a number of technological innovations, including the addition of the Cyclops, that makes it so contemporary, but also at the same time so true to its own heritage. Messaging matters. Also, Donald Fagan. Who is Donald Fagan? Is this supposed to be a lookalike for me? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know Donald Fagan, but hey, I don't know. I don't even think the guy looks like me, but okay. Red Sea, love the red line Sea Dweller. Me too, man. It's quite possibly my favorite Rolex in a long time in terms of contemporary watches, and it's already 5 years old. So that's where I am. I'm a little bit of a latecomer. I lag behind a little bit, but that's where my heart lies in this particular case. Joe says, hate to say Rolex divers are dull. Why would you need the date underwater, let alone have it magnified? I don't know. I've met a lot of people who swim with their submariners and sea dwellers. I've even met people who swim with their vintage Rolex divers. I have swam with my submariner before, although it's been a couple of years by now, or a few, I should say. I've kind of lost the track of time, as with everyone else, during this pandemic and the series of lockdowns. Um, but yeah, I'm yet to meet someone who has actually used a submariner to dive, so I'm not sure if it would be useful underwater. Obviously not. I think we usually um, think of these things the wrong way around, so to speak. We think of these watches first as tool watches and then as something that we integrate to our lives. But again, in year 2022, you can dive with a dive watch, but really your main equipment will be your dive computer, right? So your dive watch is additional. It serves as a companion, really, as something that adds another layer to the experience, and as something that you can take away from that experience and still have as part of your daily life, as part of your everyday experience, right? So um, any diver watch, and not just Rolexes, are the kinds of tools that you can actually use in the rest of your life as well, and mostly in the rest of your life. I think they're more enchanting um, when they carry some of those memories of you having done uh, those dives, those climbs, having gone through those experiences. You have the chance to look at that watch and reminisce about it when you are just desk diving, writing on your computer, or when you're in the middle of a meeting and you get a little fidgety and you're checking the time on your wrist, and you suddenly remember that this timepiece was with you underwater, or that this timepiece accompanied you on that long hike or climb, or that you swam an intercontinental um, competition with this watch on your wrist, right? All of these things, I think, we have to consider from that perspective rather than trying to assess them honestly as tool watches, because most divers already know that they can't rely on a diver's watch, whether it's Rolex or Seiko or Citizen or Doxa. It hardly matters. They need a diving computer. 49's Fine says, thinking of selling my Zenith Chronomaster Sport. It just feels cheaply made. The bracelet, clasp, and the pushers especially. Thinking on a speedy 3861 to replace it. Joe, yes, just to wrap up the earlier comment, I absolutely agree with you. They're no longer tools. Um, that's why I sometimes joke about it, since I wear these watches as well. I say they're now watches for tools, not tool watches, or they're tool watches in the sense, like, tools like me wear them in their daily life. That's what it is at this point. Hey, look, a Speedmaster is really one of the only chronographs, unless we are talking about like a vintage, you know, 2 subdial aesthetic. Speedmasters are really the only chronographs that I can get behind off. So I can't disagree. I would go with an Omega Speedmaster every day of the week and twice on Sunday instead of Zenith. No, this is not this of the brand. Don't take me wrong. I have no extended experience with Zenith. I have never owned a Zenith. I've never owned a Zenith Chronomaster Sport. So don't take my word for it. You can take perhaps 49's Fine's word for it. But it just doesn't inspire me in the same way that an Omega Speedmaster does. And of course, I know the heritage, right? In 1969, Zenith was one of the first movement makers that achieved an automatic mass-produced chronograph movement in El Primero. It has its particular lineage. It belongs in this conversation, absolutely. But to me, an Omega Speedmaster, especially a Moonwatch, will always be the chronograph. There's just something about the look. I think the all black aesthetic appeals to me. Of course, it's relatively simplistic otherwise, so it just fits. It just fits. And again, you know, it's something that you need to think about as well if you are worrying about the bracelet and clasp and whatever else. There were certain problems with the finishing of the most recent generation of Speedmasters. So if you can actually go into a boutique and try on a few examples and make sure that the cases are properly finished, I think that would be great. Because look, I mean, Omega in the last few years also has experienced a lot of interesting quality control issues too. Let's just leave it at that. 49's Fine. Thank you for the nice words. I think that the poll is leaning towards me keeping the beard, or heavily. Should the beard stay? It's been almost an hour by now, 52 minutes, 38 votes. 66% of the people said yes. Wow. Hey, I'll have to commit to it. I'll have to commit to it. I'll have to keep my word. I was gonna shave it in the morning, but I guess it's staying at least for a few more days. 49's Fine says Omega feels so much more superior, even with the quality control issues I've seen and heard. Yeah, I can, you know, again, I will take your word for it. I like a lot of what Zenith offers aesthetically. I respect their heritage, but they've never inspired me in the same way. And don't take me wrong, you know, I've only owned a Speedmaster for a few months. I had really bought it as a gift for my uncle, but with his permission, because he always wanted that watch. With his permission, I wore it for a few months before I brought it back to the old country. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a great deal. Apparently not enough to get one for myself. But then again, I'm very limited when it comes to what I like and what I don't like in terms of watches. And for some reason, I haven't been inspired in the same way. I haven't been touched in the same way. I haven't had a chronograph sing to me in the same way that a simple three-hander usually does. But then again, I can change my mind. As you see here, this is very asymmetric dial. I never thought I would have a watch like this because for me, the 4-digit two-liner sub without the date function, to me, that's definitive. That's the watch I really like. That's the kind of aesthetic that I go for. So hopefully I can still learn more and I can still expand my tastes. But a chronograph so far hasn't really sung to me. Here we have a big fan of the Speedmaster who has a new one. Smoking Joe Kramer. How are you doing, man?
Man, I had to come on here seeing you spruik these shitters on here.
What am I doing? You're calling the Speedmaster a shitter now?
Well, yeah, you can't get it wet. You can't get it wet.
Why do you want to get it wet? What is your obsession with getting your watches wet?
Because we're on a planet that's 75% water. Yeah, it's kind of a standard thing that your watch should be able to get wet.
Okay. Is it really that severe?
Well, right now it's raining. It's a downpour, and I had to take off my watch and put it in my pocket.
Okay. So I mean, I know you don't want to risk it, but are we really saying that the Speedmaster can't take a downpour? Can't take the rain?
I don't think it can. I really don't think it can. I mean, the reason why it's been nicknamed the Gremlin. You can't get them wet. You can't get them wet. These are luxury wristwatches, Lord.
Well, look, I mean, I wouldn't submerge it in water for sure. I wouldn't swim with it. I wouldn't shower with it. But I guess you could wash dishes with it. I guess you can walk in rain with it on your wrist.
It's too much for risk, Lord.
Mathis says the beard stays, fear the beard. Okay, another vote. What do you think? Should after the haircut, should the beard stay or not?
No, I think you should go the full 9 yards. Shave the head off, shave the beard off, go for the Johnny Sins look. Call it a day.
Johnny Sins, I mean, he doesn't have a unibrow, but he has very severe brows as well. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. You could pull it off 100%.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's a look. But I mean, I've already proposed a poll, and the poll voted in crushing majority the beard stays. So I have to keep it at least for a few days to appease the audience. But yes, I respect your opinion as well, as you know, Joe. So maybe when I shave the beard, I might shave off the hair too. But I just paid for a haircut, so I'm not shaving my hair off anytime.
What do you mean? Like you put like a down payment for a haircut or what?
I got on the wait list.
Yeah, that's what it made it sound like. Yeah, I put a down payment, and
No.
They're gonna give me the call to come into the bar.
What I mean is like, I just had a haircut today. I'm not gonna shave it off tomorrow. It just doesn't make sense. I could have just had it shaved off, right? Yeah, I'm stingy, right. Joe. What are you talking? I'm stingy. I want
discounts. I want discounts.
I'm gonna get some value out of this haircut. Doesn't matter whether it costs $5, $15, or $25. I have to get the value out of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Four
No,
Nine
I mean,
says you can get it wet, Joe. We know you can't get her wet. Oh my! Oh,
nasty and vicious punters.
mostly
Nasty
Poland,
and vicious punters.
Joe. Huh? What's up?
I said there's nasty and vicious punters in the comments section.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's comes with the territory, Joe. You know this. You know this.
I
Frank
should
Kent
have.
says the people have spoken. Look, there's another look-alike for me in Frank Cannon's avatar. That guy kind of looks like me too. If I were to, same hair line more or less. I just need a mustache. Sparkles.
I'm gonna send you a photo here. Check your Instagram. Because I sent this to Lolex too, and I was giving him shit about it because it's the previous gen.
Let me check it out, and maybe I can download it at least and bring it up.
Well, it's nothing like really far out there, but I seen it on a Facebook forum, and the guy was saying that his dog knocked that loose on his watch, and
Wait,
like
let
the
me.
hour, like the yeah, well, yeah, you can just pull it up. But he
By
said that his
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, just go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say Sparkles. I love that puppy in your picture. I was dying to say it all this time. Oh my God, the second hand.
Yeah, but how does your dog? I mean, that's got to be a pretty aggressive knock to knock off your tachymeter hand, wouldn't you think?
Jesus. Look, I mean, on the one hand, shit happens, right? It's not, these watches are not invincible. They're not unbreakable. I have seen worse. On the other hand, just as we were talking about quality control issues, yeah, I feel like a second hand, center second hand shouldn't break off like that.
And it's not like it's a vintage. Like if this was a vintage, it would make sense, but you can clearly tell it's one of the newer generations. Now, who knows? Maybe this one's from like 2002, 2003, but
Yeah.
in theory, it should still not be that fragile for the tachymeter to just kind of pop loose like that.
Yeah, it's a little worrisome. Again, right when we were talking about certain QCs. Omar, I did start already. I had 2 short episodes. This is about the book club. It's Everyday Philosophy, and the book we are reading together, which we will resume on Monday in the morning, 9 a.m. PDT, Pacific Daylight Savings, is Pierre Hadot, What is Ancient Philosophy? Let me send that link. The marketing genius that I am, I still haven't made a single cent out of it, but I try my hardest. I actually have an Amazon Associates account, so I'm trying to send the link for philosophy. That is my Associates link. There you go. And this was something that you just saw on social media.
Yeah. It obviously got a lot of attention because it's one of those things that in theory it shouldn't happen from such a, in my opinion, minute shock. Unless his dog just really rocked the shit out of that thing. It's still hard to kind of imagine how that, in my opinion, that thing must have been loose from the start, and it was going to eventually just happen at some point. But who knows?
Okay, Thomas says New Omega, the Dolly Dial is the guy alive. I don't know which watch is that. Does it inspire anything? Next book will be Little Woman, not my next book. Sparkle says Gabby was an English lab. She went to heaven a couple of months ago. I'm sorry to hear that, man. A wonderful girl, huge part of our family. Yes, these dogs. I had two dogs that I trained and raised, both American Cocker Spaniels. I love them to death. They have both departed now, and they really become part of the family. They really become real companions. It's hard to lose a dog. So I'm sorry, Sparkles. But yeah, Omar, thanks for dropping by. We're almost at the 2 hour mark. So if you have been watching and enjoying the show, please feel free. Yeah, please feel free to please feel free to upvote, like the video. It helps me a great deal. It helps me gain exposure. Omar says the book link is in Spanish. It is, yeah. My entire Google apparatus is actually in Spanish. I guess I should fix it or something. I don't know. I don't know what you're saying, Omar. It's not. It's pretty straightforward. Amazon. It's the same buttons. Let's break out of monolingualism. We're not going to start speaking Spanish, I don't think, anytime soon on this channel, while we're already suffering for viewers, while we are already trying to desperately get to 1,000. But yeah, maybe next time I'll do it in English. We're still at 495, Thomas. I hope we get to 500 before this stream ends, but for that we need to make a different kind of effort. But if any of you can help me bring this home, I think that would be great. Speaking of which, 49's Fine has asked about my Instagram account. There it is. And yeah, losing a dog fucking sucks. You're absolutely right. This is my Instagram account. There's more and more watch content there, although it's mostly about man's style more than anything. It doesn't really have anything personal about me, for better or worse. So feel free to check it out. That's also right at the threshold of 500 subscribers or followers, as it were. So that's that. I hope you guys can find something interesting there as well. Let me click, actually. We have been, since the last few are all watch related, maybe we can talk about a few things there. A lot of it is very English and Italian menswear related. We have here Stefano Pioli, who is the current coach of Milan, but there he was at the helm of Inter. He's wearing his GMT Master, and right behind him, his assistant is wearing a Submariner. Actually, the picture quality is not too great where we can peek in, but you can at least see the oyster bracelet there. We have Claudio Ranieri, again, a famous Italian coach who won the Premier League leading Leicester City. And he's wearing the 1655 Steve McQueen Freccione, the Explorer 2. We have Fabio Cannavaro, the World Cup champion and the last defender to have won the Ballon d'Or for the best football player. He's wearing the Nautilus chronograph 5980A. We have the legendary Andrea Pirlo wearing Patek World Time in white gold with the cloisonné dial. We have Il Trapattoni wearing a vintage Daytona with a silver dial. We have Sergio Rizzo, an Italian writer, journalist, who's wearing a sub on a NATO strap with dusty, musty corduroy jacket. We have a nice Pepsi here, worn by Ferrari's ex-CEO, Luca Cordero de Montezamolo. Another Pepsi, again, Pioli. And we have Cannavaro wearing Newman there. Paul Newman. Anyway, so check it out, explore, follow. I appreciate it. Thomas says, come on, people, we need 5 more to stay on air. We need you to sign up now. I think, Thomas, the 11 people who are watching are probably already subscribed. I'm assuming, but if they're not, thank you for the reminder, Thomas. Wake up the bear. I think that would be great if I can follow, if I can get 500 followers, 500 subs by the end of the stream. But if not, I work day by day. I'm patient. 49's fine. Thank you for the follow on Instagram. After I'm done with the stream, I'm gonna follow you back for sure. Yeah, Big Mac. What else did you have in mind today?
Well, I think being the first minority on your channel, Lord, I should be admin, just because I'm the first minority.
What about me?
Nah, you don't count. You don't count. That doesn't count. It only counts when I do.
Look, I mean, I'm not obviously whatever I am. I'm not a minority on my own channel, so I was just trying to play along with you. But yeah, I think we'll think about it. Well, at some point, probably we
No,
will.
Lord, I don't mean that seriously. I don't. It's just,
but not now. The channel is
no,
too young.
I don't mean that seriously. It's just, yeah, I've seen. So, not to bring up drama or anything, but I've seen that towards the tail end of Tim and Paul Thorpe's interview. Cam comes out of left field, like,
Oh, yeah,
I think you should have like a minority. Like, I can be the first minority on your show, Paul. Because it's like, Jesus Christ.
49's fine. Heard the impression immediately. He said, "You sound like Cam." LOL.
Ah, dude, I mean that stuff gets my blood boiling, but it's whatever. It's for a different day, different conversation.
Of course. Well, I just wanted to circle back to our heading, which was anniversary watches. Are there anniversary watches that you like or dislike that have come out in the recent years? Anything that tickles your fancy?
See, anniversary watches are excuse me, Lord, I'm backing up my iPhone right now, so hence why I'm a little distracted. Anniversary watches are kind of hit and miss, honestly. It's like take Omega, for example. Omega has a beautiful way of just absolutely butchering an anniversary watch, because they plaster it with logos. I mean, I think this last Bond watch was actually pretty decent. It was the cleanest one that they did. But typically it's awful. I remember like the Planet Ocean from like, what was it, 2010? 007, they put the 007 on the second hand. So you'd have the second hand all the way up here. And then towards the end of it, you'd have literally, I think it's 007 on the bottom there that swings around where it's like 007 at 7 o'clock is one of the indices. It looks stupid. It's all get out. Then you have Cartier and the Reversal. I'm not the Reversal, the tanks. The Cartier tanks. I think they're absolutely fucking fantastic. Yeah, people shit on them because they're quartz, but the beautiful thing about them is you don't even see them tick. It's just a simple two-hander and beautiful dial colors. And they're going to be coming here this fall. I talked to my rep, and she said, "Yep, we're going to get them this fall. We're already taking names down for the wait list." Jlc Reversal with their tributes. I think that was another fantastic anniversary edition. I believe. I mean, those are beautiful watches. Like I said, it's a hit and miss, honestly, with most of the anniversary watches that kind of come out. It depends.
Yeah. We did talk about actually the Reverso tribute editions all the way back from 1991 and how they were actually quite innovative, bringing in different complications, bringing in ultra thin movements, bringing in the vintage aesthetics, and really reviving the model in ways that both paid homage to the origins, but also stayed relevant in the time. I think those are good examples. Another one that we talked about yesterday, actually, this was the Seamaster GMT, which was the 50th anniversary model. Do you remember what we pulled up yesterday?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a very nice anniversary model as well. I want to just bring it up. Some of our friends, some of the audience was there yesterday night too, but since we're approaching it from a different angle this time, this was a 50th anniversary Seamaster. It has that Omega there in gold, the hippocampus, and 50 years on the back. Of course, the older hand-guided guilloche wave dial, the broadsword hands, the red accent on the second hand, and the red GMT hand. Of course, no helium escape valve, which probably, pardon me, isn't missed by most people. And the aluminum bezel for the GMT function, aluminum rotating bezel. I think that's also a great idea for an anniversary. You are giving people a new function, an aesthetic that, with the big triangle and the broadsword hands, pays homage to the vintage models. Yeah, something old, something new at the same time. It's I think this was a beautiful edition, and it also fits the bill, of course, for our entry-level first luxury watch, which I had very arbitrarily decided was $3,500 in US dollars. But yeah, I think this could be a good entry for a lot of people.
Right.
Four Nice Fine says, not sure how I feel about that 12 o'clock marker. It's huge.
It's gonna be huge.
Yeah, it's that's basically an homage for Nice Fine to the vintage mil-spec Seamasters with the big triangles. Let me pull up an example so you know what I mean.
We're gonna build a great wall. We're gonna make them pay for it. It's gonna be huge. Great people. Great people.
Who are great people?
I'm sorry. Well, Lord, the stream's cutting out.
Yeah, this is it. 4-9's fine. This is the big triangle that it's trying to replicate. You see the sword hands. This is a very early mil-spec big triangle Seamaster 300. Really beautiful watches, these. And you can see the mil-spec details there, the crow's foot on the back as well.
These are quartz, right? Or like
No.
There's some that were quartz and there's some are automatic, right?
This one is automatic for sure. I'm not gonna make a general statement and say there were never quartz Omega divers issued to military or to divers, because that would be, there are always exceptions, but a lot of these.
But I was just talking in general because I'm pretty sure I've seen a couple of these, like in the 35 mil, 36 mil, running in quartz.
It's possible. It's possible. Thomas is once again bringing up a very interesting model. The Hydronaut. I think he meant Tudor for whatever reason. I wrote Omega, but did he? Yeah, he wrote Omega as well. But right here we have the. Yeah, Hydronaut has never been my favorite, but it's an interesting watch for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a Pepsi, you know, that's a Pepsi purchase right there. You buy one of those, you're getting a Pepsi right after that.
Or if you don't, you just don't get it, right?
Unsellable. Austin Daniels allegedly loved this model and wore it for how many years, I guess. I just don't see the attraction, honestly. No offense, I guess, but
look, yeah, no. Again, no offense, but Austin is Austin is an enthusiast. Austin has a very considered and focused and sometimes fixated opinions about vintage watches and models, and what he likes, he really likes. And I have seen that he likes the Hydronaut. For me, this is one of the object lessons where Tudor should stay in its lane, which is, basically reproducing and reiterating some of the best examples of its own and Rolex's heritage, right? It's not the platform to invent new designs. To me, at least, that's not. Yeah. Thomas says, I love it. All respect, man. But Hydronaut 2 is not my jam. Full on John says, with the exception of the Speedy and Aquaterra, Omega always makes a fantastic watch, then fikes it up in some way. One second. There's a friend who might.
I mean, yeah, I do agree. Omega has the bad habit of just, everyone's saying like, oh, the Swatch is going to devalue the Omega brand. Look, Omega's been doing that for years, honestly. I think it's just like, I think it just finally hit to home, like the hardcore fanboys realized like, Omega's just been screwing themselves over for years with all these. Every year the anniversary, fucking hell, someone sneezes in the office and there's a special edition commemorated to it. They're
Full on
just
John.
terrible at it.
Yeah, his example is the skeletonized hands on the Seamaster Professional 300, helium escape valves. Now they've ruined my favorite by putting a lollipop second hand on the Heritage. I agree. That's why I usually like the older Seamasters a little more, but the skeletonized hands are usually my problem as well. That's why I like that 50th anniversary GMT version. To me, that's just the perfect Seamaster in a way, even though it's not an exclusively diver's watch, right? You might consider it a Divergence. Omega Speedmaster Apollo 11. Yes, that was a nice anniversary edition. Apollo 11.
Is that the two-tone? I can't remember.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But a very particular two-tone. Let's pull it up. You see it now?
Yeah, I personally like this one, but I get why I get shit on a lot too because of the astronaut.
I don't know, man. I really like it, actually. I really do.
I believe Sirocco wanted to get one of these.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sirocco might not know a lot of technicalities about watches, but I think he has a good taste in watches. So can't blame him for wanting something like this. Yes, there are aspects of it that are a little too gimmicky, like the astronaut in the subdial and the footprint in the case back. Sure. But listen, I mean, I think it's a very subtle and nice execution of the two-tone aesthetic. I actually like it. I don't
do
know.
like it though. I'd buy it honestly if it wasn't so, bastardly overpriced.
That's what I was going to ask. I don't know how much they're running for. How much do they usually sell for?
Shit, I remember Sirocco muttering something about like they're well past 20 grand.
Oh,
if I
hell no.
remember correctly.
Wow.
And I don't know if this one uses the 3-2-1 movement or not. I can't remember. I think it does.
Which movement does it use?
I think it's the 3-2-1. I can't be sure.
Really? It uses the 3-2-1.
I could be completely wrong, but it would make sense why it's 20 grand at that point then.
Yeah, I mean, it might justify it just a little bit, a tiny bit. Let's see if they have the technical details here. Watch details. No, it's the 38.
The 3861. Fuck me dead. Yeah, no, why would I pay for 20 grand for it? It's the same watch that I got essentially. Except that one looks better, I'll admit.
But I mean, if you can find it in the boutique, it says it's right under 10K. And it has a nice bracelet, I have to say.
These were numbered. I don't know if they were limited, but I think they were numbered, as what Sirocco was saying.
Okay. Yeah, 49's Fine also confirmed that it was 3861. I actually Four Nines Fine was asking about Panerai. Look, I actually like Panerai. I love the aesthetic because it's like an old oyster case. I like the connection with Rolex, but to me, in their usual size, they're just too big. For me, they're too big. I just can't. I like some bigger watches, but I just never felt like they belong on my wrist. So, hey, and the problem was, as you know, some years back, this rumor started spinning that Panerai can't identify its own face, which is like how the confidence of a brand can entirely tank. It's horrible. It's horrible if
Well,
they really
it
said
wasn't so
anything.
much a rumor as like it was actual fact too. Like because when they started like passing them off on their Instagram page, and then they were called out on it, it was embarrassing. Yeah, but I think the more embarrassing part is when Panerai came out and said, "Hey, the best way to know your watch is real is just buy from us." Like that was it. That was like the most laziest response ever, and I think that's what they get a little frack for.
Yeah, it's very strange response there indeed, guys. We are slowly approaching the last stretch. Please don't forget to upvote if you have been enjoying the content. Hit the like button. Every single vote counts. Every little thing that you do helps. Interact, ask questions, send your requests in the chat, jump on the panel. The link is pinned there. I am almost halfway to my 1K subs goal, my first major goal on YouTube. So help me gain some new subscribers by spreading the word, tell your friends. But until then, if you want to support me, if you want to encourage me in creating more content, do more of these live streams, and if you want to request a personalized video, feel free to send a PayPal contribution at my primary point of contact, which is lordhellespontv@gmail.com. That's lordhellespontv@gmail.com. And I also have a Cash App, which is $LHVVV. That is $LHVVV. I appreciate it. Yeah, Panerai has a lot of committed fans. That's for sure.
I wouldn't mind Panerai, like you said, if they weren't just so made for like the Americans, the plump size Americans. But yeah, that seems to be their target market.
Hey, Joe, I think we both are Americans as well. No?
Wow, we're more of the last of the generation that cares about our health. Not that I can say a whole lot, but you get the point.
Now you care about your health, huh? Is that what are we drinking today?
We are drinking the non-alcoholic rat piss today.
Again?
Yeah.
How do you get through that? How do you suffer that? Like
I
non-alcoholic
don't know.
is something that never hit it for me.
There's some that actually pull it off decently. Then there's others that are just absolute dog shit. I guess the ones that go like it's no duh. It tastes like dog shit. It's like Coors, um, Keystone, Heineken. But the Samuel Adams, like if you get like the IPA stuff, it's just haze. It actually does the trick pretty nice. But honestly, look, I mean, I've lost actually a little weight, honestly. Not that you can tell, but I've actually lost a little weight. Looking forward to going back to the gym. I haven't been to the gym for like a month because I've been busy. But honestly, just having the kind of vague taste of beer kind of gets me there.
Okay.
But it doesn't really satisfy the endless thirst, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, if it helps you stay sober and stay alcohol free for the time being, that's great. That's great. For me, like you said, for the most part, since it doesn't, yeah, for me, beer especially was never about the flavor or taste, anyways. So,
Oh, it's about getting
um,
fucked up, honestly. I mean, let's call it for what it is.
yeah, well, I mean, I also, yeah, that's why I also don't like drinking beer to begin with. But yeah, yeah. So I never got on board with it because I never got used to it as a taste or as a flavor to begin with. But yeah,
I will say this though, like, so I had like a 6-pack, 6-pack and one on Easter, and given that I hadn't drank in like 2 months, that buzz was fucking incredible. It was fucking mint because it just hit you out of nowhere. Um, and I know of guys who will go like 3-4 months and then they'll just hammer it on like the weekends. Uh, I don't know if I'll do that honestly, but
since
I get the
since you
point.
talk, since you talk shit about Americans, Thomas puts you in your place. Real man, solid American, big bone structure, big hands, which we don't have. Thomas is absolutely right. We have puny feminine wrists, the two of us. What can we do? Guinness gets you in shape. Maybe we should drink more beer and more
I
alcohol.
knew one guy who drank Guinness Red Lemonade. Like it made sense, but damn, that would be it's such a heavy beer. Ugh.
Guinness is like a meal in a pint, man. It's very rich. It's very rich.
Yeah.
I do like it. I like it more than a regular beer. But it's very filling, as Four Nines Fine is saying here. Beer is too filling, especially if it's like Guinness. That's some real stuff. It's rich.
Long story short, I remember I got off working a swing shift, and this when I was still turning wrenches as a grease monkey. And the farmer woke up and he brought, we just got done working on a combine. We were off shift,
Hmm.
and he brought out a case of beer and it's Guinness. And we're like, oh, okay, whatever. And we crack it open. Keep in mind, we're tired as shit. It's like 4 in the morning. We've been at work since 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We crack it open and we start sipping. It's like, holy shit, this shit is warmer. It's like it's sat in somebody's car for like directly
Oh,
in the sunlight. Oh, worst stomach ache ever. Oh, that shit was nasty. But we drank it anyways because hey, never decline free beer.
uh, maybe sometimes do. I don't know.
The only beer that I would decline probably is I can't even think of the name. It's High Mountain Brewery or something like that. It's like the cheapest beer you can possibly buy. It's like $2 for a fucking 12-pack. It's just awful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of beer, but well, yeah, I'm trying to keep an open mind. I'm a hard liquor person, so when I drink, I yeah, I like drinking. When I'm outside, I usually drink a vodka martini, and when I'm at home or when I'm invited somewhere, I usually bring them a nice bottle of scotch. So when I'm in good company, I try to sip um, decent scotch. Sometimes a blend is just fine. For the most part, in fact, a blend is just fine. But I do like my single malts.
I remember one time this is when I was dating this girl probably like for 2 weeks, and she invited me over to her parents' place.
Okay.
So I picked up a generic bottle of scotch. And what she failed to tell me was both of her parents were recovering alcoholics. So I
Oh,
showed up as like my first impression with a giant bottle of scotch. I'm like, oh, that this information would have been nice to know before I showed up.
Ooh, yeah, that makes it so much harder, because I do have a very close friend who is in the wine business as well. So a lot of times I don't know, and he's very generous in general, and when he invites me, sometimes I don't know what to bring because um, my usual habit is I bring either a nice scotch, and he's in the wine business, but obviously that means he has access to all kinds of good alcohol, so that doesn't impress him. I cannot do wine because that's something he knows even better, and he might just pour down the drain what I bring him. So I usually end up bringing him something that relates to um, he used to keep horses and play polo, so I bring him something that relates to that, like a nice coffee table book, or he actually has a reverso himself. He's part of the reverso squad, so to speak. He has the GMT version with the automatic movement. Do you know that one?
Vaguely, it sounds familiar.
Let me pull it up. It's this one. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get him a new strap for that for his birthday. This is it. Chrono 24 sometimes does that.
Don't those pushers like above the crown? Doesn't that kind of what is it like? It kind of sets your GMT. Like if you push it
Yeah,
one way, like on the top, it sets like your date, and then the bottom one kind of sets like the actual time zone.
yeah. You
Something
see,
like that.
on the second face, you also have another dial, and day night. East west. The GMT set off is here, and yeah, that's what you arrange with those pushers. I think it's a nice watch.
Yeah, it
Uh,
looks really cool, but I bet you that thing's thicker than a book, honestly. For having that much complication in it.
oh wait, it's why did I think this was an automatic movement? It is a manual movement. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Now that makes it a little more attractive for me as well. Even though it's a very similar aesthetic to mine, so probably this wouldn't be a second reversal to get for me, but it's a nice one, and I'm sure you can get it for around 10K. Don't disregard this one because it's an auction, and that's just an estimate. It's gonna go for higher than that, but I'm sure you can actually get it for less than 10K as well. Um,
Oh no, the problem I have, like, I got invited to a dinner and like neither of them drank. So like what do you bring? You know, it's awkward when people who don't drink and they invite you over for dinner or something like this. Like, what do you bring?
dessert, dessert is possible.
Yeah, that is possible, but his wife is diabetic.
Jesus.
So I just like I politely declined because I couldn't think of anything on the spot. So I'm just like, oh, shit, like I'm like, oh, I've got dinner plans ready. So
Flowers,
I felt like a dick, honestly.
flowers, flowers. Don't tell me
Wouldn't that
they're
be the
don't tell me they're allergic or something. Flowers. That's
Yeah, but
it.
wouldn't that be I don't know, a little awkward, like, because, or maybe not awkward, but out of place, with the husband there and the wife.
Actually, it's the one that makes sense because you'll step. You'll knock on the door. You'll have the flowers, right? So probably the gentleman will greet you at any rate, and you'll say, to the woman of the house, I brought some flowers, and that's never a gesture that's not taken well. I've never faced any problems with that.
I made a joke that I was just going to bring a giant plastic bottle of Pepsi.
So I remember my first beer. 49Spine says Shawshank Redemption roof moment. What's my favorite scotch? Wow, that's like, what would be the one watch you want to have? And for that, I have a very easy answer. For the one scotch, okay, I'll give three if that's possible. For everyday drinking, Johnny Walker Black Label, great blend. Just put a splash of sparkling water on it, just like Christopher Hitchens used to do. It's great for drinking on a regular basis. Here in Southern California, in Ralph's, we have them on discount all the time, like $19.99 per bottle. Beautiful. For something a little more elevated, Aran 10. This is a great single malt from Isle of Aran. It's like close to Isla, which is really known for its peaty, smoky flavors. And Aran is again an island malt that is more or less in that spectrum, but has its own singular taste. It's I would say it's a little more. Let me go back to my notes because I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to this. It's like coconut and citrus on the nose. On the palate, it's sweet. It has this like, thyme, nutmeg, lemon zest kind of taste. And the finish is a little bitter and peppery, medium length, I wrote. So Aran 10 is great. And it's not too expensive either. Last time I got it for $48.99 per bottle, which is not too bad for a single malt. And then, you know what? I still like my Lagavulin 16. It's expensive, it's overpriced, but if you're into that anodyne, why did I say anodyne? Iodine, smoky, peaty flavor, it's just beautiful. I do love Lagavulin 16. I do think it's a little too expensive, but it's a classic, and you usually can't go wrong with it. Fight Me Dead, yeah, 49Spine was experiencing the same frustration. Those people can't catch a break. They don't drink alcohol. They can't eat dessert. Although you can find desserts for diabetics.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I'm generous, but not that generous.
Yeah, like a seasonal bouquet, right? Not red roses. Not it shouldn't offend. Jay Gray's favorite is Oban, of course. So I like it. I know Jay. I remember this very fondly. That it is the dram you used to share with your late father. So may your father rest in peace as well. Along with ours, mine and Joe's too. Thomas Broadbent, Glenlivet 20. He says, nice catalog of tastes. And yes, so yeah, my three recommendations is Black Label, very accessible, affordable, Aran 10, great single malt, very singular, beautiful catalog of flavors. It's similar to Isla, but a little sweeter with an interesting peppery finish. It would be great. And Lagavulin 16, everyone loves it. If you're in good company and you want to break open something a little more special, that's a great bottle, as always. Jay Gray says, "Cheers, brothers." We love you, Jay Gray. Feel free to jump on. The link is there, but I'm gonna copy it here as well. Oh, Zeke says, "I like Yamazaki 12." Absolutely. Japanese whiskeys are great too. Yeah, they're in the US. They are becoming increasingly difficult to find and very expensive when you can find them. So it's been years since I drank any Yamazaki. Thomas says, "Match it with JLC watches." Okay, well, Black Label is master control date. Aran 10 is master control with the sector dial. And Lagavulin 16 is a reverso, either in ultra thin or with a nice complication, something like this. Special occasion. Although, hey, if you have it, you can drink it every day too. Why not? What did you change to this time?
So Samuel Adams, just the haze. Like I said, since it's an IPA, it's the closest thing that you actually taste to like a genuine beer. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's like less than 5% alcohol in here, so that's why it probably tastes the way it does.
Okay, so it's not 0%. It's just below the legal limit.
I don't know. Like it says, so technically it says non-alcoholic, but that's like an FDA. That's like a company saying like zero sugar. As long as you're below like a certain percentage, you can legally declare it zero sugar. And I think that I think beer companies do the same thing. Although with Budweiser, I know it's zero alcohol, but with this, it's in my opinion, it's very hard to get a genuine alcoholic taste without probably adding a dab of it actually in there. So it might be like 1%, 2%, if that. But I think they hit it underneath the mark to where they can legally declare it non-alcoholic.
Look, here we go. This is a great question. Or make it a Suntory time. Yeah, Suntory is great, and it's a great distillery. But again, it's becoming very inaccessible. Number two would be any of your favorite malts in the highest age statement you can find. Number two, Smokin' Joe, is the Platinum Reversal with the Tourbillon. So it's kind of top of the line, right? So whatever is your favorite single malt Scotch, the highest age statement of that you can get would be your equivalent of Reversal number two. For me, I think as we speak, it would be, I think you have an R25. I've never seen it on the shelf. I have seen R21, which itself probably costs around $250. I think R25 is more like 250 pounds sterling. So that's like a very special occasion drink, not. Although, have you watched Eyes Wide Shut, Joe?
Maybe depends.
Kubrick's
Give me the
movie,
overview.
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. They get entangled in these swinger club kind of relationship.
Let me Google it real quick because I'm Eyes Wide Shut, 1999 film.
Mm-hmm.
No, this doesn't look familiar. No.
Well, here's the thing. So the Tom Cruise finds himself in some sort of trouble, right? With this, he's a doctor
Right.
himself, so quite accomplished and affluent in and of himself. But he has this older, richer friend who invites him to a Christmas party every year, and he finds him sort of trouble, right? With this, hey, Jay Gray. I just muted you for a second until you sort out the background noise, but welcome to the channel.
Should be sorted now.
All right. Hi, how are you?
Thank you for the invitation. I didn't want to interrupt, but it's always nice to be invited. And you mentioned Eyes Wide Shut, and I couldn't resist.
You remember that scene when to sort out the problem, he visits that old man again, and just to make small talk, he says like, oh, I love that scotch you were offering that night, and he says like, the 25 year, let me send you 6 bottles of that.
Yeah. That's that was the businessman, I guess,
mm-hmm.
had hosted the party where the lady had overdosed in the washroom.
Right. So
the name of the actor is Sidney something. Am I right?
Yeah, I forget his name, but the idea is again, for us mortals, of course, 250 pounds sterling for a very high age statement single malt sounds outrageous, but I guess if you're a billionaire or something, that's let me send you a case of that.
As exaggerated as that movie seemed, there was nothing really exaggerated in it.
I'm sure. Sidney Pollack, maybe. Yeah, I think that's his
name. Sounds right. He was used by Woody Allen many times.
What's the password? Moritz reminds us.
Fidelio. That's
Thomas
for the gate.
Thomas Broadbent, Battle of the Watches, the Reversal number 2, the Jlc Reversal number 2 gets taken out by what? Thomas, I know that's your aspirational watch. So for you, it's invincible, undefeated, undisputed champion. It can't be taken out by anything. And it is a beautiful watch. Let me bring it up before we move on, because I think it is really great. Tim Masso had one of those. It's an incredible watch, especially if you like reversos, not to be taken by this. I mean, look at that.
Magnificent. It's a shame it can't get wet though.
No, it is. You're correct on that. But I've never seen a JLC, especially a reversal, that I have not liked.
Yeah, if you're into these, I mean, it's hard. You're right. It's hard not to like any of the examples, but this is, of course, really their top of the line. It's like about 50K, platinum clasp. Everything is just right. I think the movement itself is probably white gold.
What's the current price?
Well, it's been out of production for such a long time now, but in Chrono 24, let's see if we can find any other examples of it that are any cheaper. It should be trending around 50K at least, so even more. Look, I mean, there's an example of it in Switzerland that's like 75. and there are these hand engraved decorations on it. The goudron, on this is actually hand drawn. So it's a very special watch, but obviously it's out of reach for most of us. I missed something by 49's Fine, I think. I don't want to. Thoughts on the Glashütte Panomatic Lunar? Let's bring that up. I'm
intrigued by the name.
Yeah, this is basically Glashütte's version of the Lange 1, right? So Lange 1 moon phase is one of my all-time aspirations. This is basically Glashütte's version of that, and I like it. Look, I mean, yes, Glashütte is John, El Profesor. How are you?
Hey, hello.
Hey, we were looking at.
Good evening.
Good evening. We were looking at the Glashütte moon phase. Jay Gray is here. My friend Smoking Joe Kramer is here. And
hello. Hey.
Yeah, I like it. Look, I mean, of course this is in steel rather than the most of the Langes you will see in serial production. The movement in terms of its decoration, I don't know why this website doesn't show it. Will be beautiful, but of course not hand executed like it would be in Lange. So you're getting a great deal. Of course, this is more machine made than hand executed as it would be in Lange. But hey,
I was about to say, I mean, not to be a dick, but wouldn't this technically be a poor man's Lange, essentially? I mean, they look very, very similar. Obviously, you wouldn't get the same quality, but
yes, of course, more or less. That's the idea. Of course, Glashütte operates under the Swatch Group and produces much more watches and has more machine interventions. Lange is part of Richemont, but makes less than 6,000 watches. Every single component of the movement, whether it's visible or invisible, is hand finished. So it's a different level entirely. But Glashütte itself is a great version of it. I mean, it's like comparing JLC with Lange or JLC with Vacheron Constantin of the highest level. So there's a gap there, or Patek of the highest complication. But you get the same asymmetric dial feel. You get a similar aesthetic, maybe a little sportier, with the loomed hands and everything. But you get the big date, you get the moon phase, you get the same German writing, Datum and Mondphase on the dial. So if you do that, I think this is a great option, and I think it retails right under 10,000. Yeah, more or less.
That's a bargain, but the dial looks like a four-headed beast.
Right, it's very asymmetric for sure. It's that's why a lot of people, when it comes to Lange, prefer the Saxonia moon phase rather than the Lange 1 moon phase, because that's more proportioned. Let me pull that up as well so we know the point of reference. This is Lange's moon phase. it's asymmetric, but it's also, I think it's more proportions.
The black dial. Can we see that one again?
This one?
Yes. That's just perfect.
Yeah.
Reminds
It's,
me of an IWC. So it reminds me of an IWC.
Well, you know, Günther Blümlein, who was the CEO of IWC, played a very important part in reviving Lange in modern time and integrating it into the Richemont group. So it's not a coincidence. It was his ideal to bring this sort of high horology watchmaking to Germany, and he really succeeded. I love the white gold with black dial and pink with the silver dial as well. But you see, you are talking about a watch that's 4 times as much, of course, this time in precious metal. But yeah,
It does look better proportionally laid out, though. Yeah, it does, and the colors look richer. They're both metaphorically and literally, I guess. Yeah, it's completely on a different level.
This
to
is
state the obvious.
The movement looks amazing. Hey, Dirk Diggler is here. Thank you, Dirk, for dropping by. Yeah. If you haven't upvoted yet, we are slowly approaching the end, but we have a lot to talk about actually with our professor. So we might actually go on for a little longer. But please click the like button if you haven't already. It really is exposure. It really helps me. Help me, spread the word and help me reach 1,000 subscribers. And in the meantime, if you want to encourage me in creating new and original content, and if you want me to continue doing these live streams, you can always encourage me with a PayPal contribution, lordhellespontv@gmail.com, lordhellespontv@gmail.com. I also have a Cash App at $LHVVV, $LHVVV. Professor, you had a recent trip to different parts of Europe, and you wanted to share with us some of your experiences and the trends in the gray market. Is that right?
Correct. Good evening. At least good morning for me. The sun is rising here. Indeed, I did. I'm not into the gray market myself. I do not sell watches, nor do I buy for my own and sell them. If I buy, I hold. I know that typically most people today buy and then sell. Rarely do people buy and just hold. But we live in a free world, so to think. So they're free to do what they want. Obviously, the trend is. Let me put it this way: when things go bad in the financial world, in stock markets, and I think we are in the middle of a lot of bad happening, and I'm not sure if more bad will come, but all the indications show that the badness will accumulate. It's impossible to assume. We have to be really naive to assume that watches will remain unaffected, regardless of the brand, regardless of the model, regardless of the metal. As stock markets went up, watches went up. Watches went up because primarily liquidity was there from people. People felt they had money and they invested in watches. They ran out of options. They couldn't buy any more the Amazons and the Apples and the Teslas and the Googles. So they had to put their money somewhere. At the same time, they bought their homes and their cars. And it was normal for that option to be the watch because it was perceived and still is as an asset, a store of value. So what's happening today in the world of watches is that we're seeing a significant decline in the price. By significant, what do I mean? When the price of anything goes down by 10%, that's significant. Do not think that because watches have only gone down by 10%, that's not a lot. That's quite a lot of money. And I am expecting that watches will go down in the gray market. It's a normal bit of life that we go through. Stocks go down, people panic, they sell more. The more bad news, the more they sell, and so forth. You know, watches is no exception.
Exactly, sir, if I may say. Even here, the price of gas has gone up 20%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, do not think that it's a, you know, I have a watch and it's an investment and that investment will not go down in value. It will. Of course, over time, like everything else in life, things go back to certain normality, right? Stocks appreciate again, they rebound. So my advice to people is you just hold on to your watches. Of course, if you are a speculator is not the right word. If you are an investor, let's say, into watches as well as stocks, and you need the money, okay, you have to sell. But if you are in for the long haul, you know, don't sell. That's my view. But of course, we were and we're still in a watch bubble. It's impossible that, as I said before, a Patek Philippe 5711 is costing, or its market value is, you know, $300,000. And similarly, a precious metal one is like below that. You might say it's supply and demand. Yes, of course, it is supply and demand. Everything in life is supply and demand. But there is so much money, or there was so much money out there that pushed the price of this 5711 to astronomical prices. In any case, I don't know if one can wear such a watch going around to buy groceries. Certainly in certain parts of Europe, in Italy, I think you better not wear the watch walking around and expect, you know, not to be mugged, robbed, killed, or chopped off.
I think the greater fear is getting groceries.
The
Yeah,
basic
actually,
necessity.
having the power to buy them. Yes, of course. No, I think we live, guys, in funny times. And all of you, if you have money, a little bit of money in something, you would have realized by now that your 401k or your, you know, pension investments have gone down significantly. So it's impossible for watches to stay up there. Like every other commodity or investment, they go down. So going back to your question, Lord, I did visit some of the very big official ADs
Okay.
in Europe.
So how did
And
they treat you, and did they promise you any watches?
yeah, so you know, I will give you the example. I was in Italy, and I wanted to do the classic thing and go to a Rolex AD. So for the first time in my life, I had to queue outside the AD to be admitted inside. So I felt this was crazy. I said, well, let's continue this mystery shopping business. So some guy came next to me. So I'm just giving you the picture as I experienced it. This guy comes next to me, a kid, you know, 20, I think he was 23. because he told me that he just got his first job in investment banking. So he was 23, and I said, "What are you queuing for?" He said, "Well, I want to buy a day date." Oh, I
Okay.
said, "You have all this money?" He said, "Well, I just got my first job in this French bank." Okay, I said, "Wonderful." And I also have another watch in my collection. I have a Pepsi. Oh, I said, "Very nice."
Okay.
From the looks of him, he looked like a typical flipper. I can tell you this. So I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, I've been trying to get this day date, but most likely they won't have it." I said, "When did you join the world of watches?" He said, "Well, I just bought two APs, some other brand he mentioned, and I have these two. I have this Rolex, and I want to get this one as well. If you want to get a contacted for my AP dealer in London, please let me know." I said, "Okay, this 23-year-old is gonna now tell me who to reach out to." Anyway, there were a lot of people and outside, and it was raining, and we were slowly admitted inside to this the mecca of the AD. I find all this a little bit ridiculous, guys, because a few years back they would plead for you to go in and get a discount for a gold watch, buy anything from 10 to 15%. Sometimes I even got 20%. I never owned a gold watch from Rolex, but anyway, I go in and I have a very good friend of mine with me, and he said to me, let's no, let's see how it goes. So they had this security guard. I talked to the security guard. I said, "Where are you from?" He said to me, "Sir," and nobody asks me this question. I actually spoke to him in French because he was from the African continent, but the French speaking. So, he said to me, "I'm from Senegal." Oh, I said, "Wonderful. I've been to Senegal." I said, "My friend lost a bet. He thought you were from Sudan." I said, "Sudanese don't look like this." And he's from Senegal. He said, "Very nice of you." I said, "Why do they have you in the door?" He said, "I need to control the traffic." I said, "What traffic? What's going on? I mean, there is a red light, green light here?" He said to me, "Yes, you cannot imagine. This is very light. We have like long queues of 30 people to get into the AD." I said, "Oh my God. Oh mon Dieu. Oh mon Dieu." I said, he said to me, "Okay, sir, you can go in. This lady will help you." I said, "Okay." Another lady. And this lady comes to us and says, "Hello, hello." So my friend says, "Oh, I'm looking for this watch." I looked at him. I said, "Are you serious? You're gonna?" He said, Let's ask for this watch." So he asked for the GMT with the. Well, he has a lot. He doesn't worry about money like many of us, so he can buy anything he wants. He said, "I want the GMT with the meteorite dial." The lady said, "Oh, well, we don't really get this piece." Oh, I said, "How funny. Oh, when do you get this piece? I mean, do we pray to God?" She said, "No, but it's very difficult. I said, "Okay, can we put ourselves on a waiting list?" She said, "No, we don't have waiting lists." I said, "Oh, okay." So I could see easily that this lady was putting up a face and a wall and a front. And the front was no waiting list. We don't do this. There were all the exhibition pieces you can imagine. So, of course, I know very well that the exhibition pieces are for sale. So I said to her, "Can I buy one of these?" She said, "No, no, no." So then I tell her the bomb. I release a bomb and I tell her, "No, no." She said, "No, yes, yes." She said, "No, no." Yeah, everything
Was
was
it a
no.
bouncing bomb?
No, I threw it. I said, "Okay, what is your first name?" She said, "Oh, my first name is this." I said, "How beautiful. It means in your religion this." Ah, she said, "How do you know?" I said, "Well, I know. I know." She said, "Oh, very nice." I said, listen, let me tell you a little bit about my history, and um, I know a little bit of this gentleman and that gentleman, and back many years ago. And she said, "Uh-oh, all right, um, I understand now. Can you please come upstairs?"
Hmm.
So we went upstairs. So for the common folk, ground floor was the space where everybody had to be uh, um, let in and then asked to leave. Second floor was the watch world, where you could sit down and look at the watches, and they'll bring them to you. Uh, Actually, she took us to the second floor and she said, "What do you want?" I said, "My friend wants this watch." She said, "Okay, we don't know honestly when we'll get this one, but if your friend is a brotherly friend, we will then give it to him." Okay, I said, "Do you know the timeline?" She said, "No, it can be anything from 6 months to a year to a year and a half." I said, "Fine, no problem. My friend wants the GMT. This specific one, we're not asking for, you know, um, the flipper watches or whatever the community wants." She said, "Well, I want you to come with me to the third floor." So we go to the third floor. I said,
I
"My
love,
friend."
Professor. Can I just interject there? I love that. Literally, there's like some transcendence going on. There's like a hierarchy of the value they place on customers. Downstairs, upstairs.
Absolutely.
Please go.
So my friend, as we go into this elevator, which is transparent and you can see it, it's within the building. He says to me as we go in another language, um, in Greek actually. He says to me, "Okay, the next thing that you will do with this lady is have sex. She will offer sex to you as well. The way it's going." I said, "No, it's okay." I said, let's see where this is
I
going."
just want to watch.
So
Exactly.
he said to me, exactly. I said, "Well, look, let's see." So we go to the third floor, and there is nobody there, and it's a room full of screens. And then she said, "We will invite you here for champagne and a barbecue when the weather permits." I said, "Oh, very nice, thank you. We're just visitors," I said. And she showed me the place, and then she showed me this clock, and she said, "This is the exclusive area." And oh, I said,
Mhm.
"Very nice, thank you so much." And my friend was couldn't believe what was going on. We went back to the second floor. They said hello to us, everybody, and then um, she took his details.
Yeah.
It took about 10 minutes. They said, where are you residing?" Of course, in the ground floor, she told us immediately before I told her something that made her change. She immediately said, "Do you live here?" We said, "No, we're visitors in your country." She said, "Well, you need to go back to your country." I, I said, "Okay, we go back to our country, yes." I said, I live in the UK, but let me tell you, in the UK, the authorized dealers are very unfriendly. And she said, "Well, we cannot really give you anything because you're not residing here." I said, "Okay." That residency immediately changed, of course, after the second floor and third floor ensued. So she took the details of my friend. My friend lives obviously in Europe, and she didn't care where he lived. Um, then they registered him. They told him, "Are you sure this is what you want?" He said, "Yes, this is what I want." They took the details. They gave him a copy of the code. He has a certain code. They gave him the code, and they told him, "When this watch comes in, you will get it. When can we reach you?" Email, phone number, residency, and all of that. And so Then she greeted me. She said, "Thank you. It's an honor to meet you." I said, "Yes." She actually asked me a question, which was interesting. She said, we were told by some people who come in and ask for watches, if authorized dealers are allowed to charge a premium on top of the retail price. And I said, this is illegal. Tell whoever told you this that you need to report them and they will take away their dealership. The brand does not allow for this to happen. She said, well, we heard it from different people and sources. And of course, this is going on. Rolex does not allow authorized dealers to put a premium. You pay the same amount. Yeah.
That's what I heard from some people in Hong Kong, for example. Apparently, it has become customary now, and they call it a gratuity swipe. So they basically swipe your card once, charge you the retail price, and then the second one, they charge the basically the premium that adds it up to
service.
the market price. In an authorized.
Does anyone think that there's ever a chance of Rolex selling used Rolexes?
And theoretically, they already do. So, yeah, it's kind of
That's the rumor
happening.
Going around, by the way. I would like to ask you this, Professor. They are saying now that Rolex will start doing certified Rolex pre-owned. Have you heard anything about a project like this?
No.
Okay.
No.
The thing that I wanted to ask you, because it's so last time, I'll describe my experience of going to the AD last time. I saw, of course, a different case of exhibition models, as you predicted, right? The selection was more or less the same, but for someone who has a good memory, I could see half a dozen of them had changed. And this was the absolute tell for me. Before, there were no Daytonas. Now there was a Daytona, and it was two-tone black dial with factory diamonds. Pardon me. No reason why the only exhibition Daytona would be with diamonds on the dial. I mean, what kind of exhibition only watch is that? Doesn't make sense to me. And in fact, I said, look, may I try this? It's been a while since I saw any kind of Daytona in the case. And she was like, oh, that has diamonds on the dial. I was just going to say directly to her, why would it matter? I just want to try an exhibition on the piece. But I said, okay, let's not break the fourth wall here. Let's continue playing this game together. And I said, oh, no, I don't mind. I just want to see how. So I put it on. And she was like, do you like it? And she was ready to sell it to me, basically, if I actually wanted to buy it. Because obviously, if you are going to have an exhibition on the Daytona, it would be the so-called, what do they call it? The Panda, right? The one with the black bezel, a black ceramic bezel and white dial with the contrasting subdials, right? If it's an exhibition only piece, why not put the most desirable, so make people aspire to that? But no, it was a two-tone black dial with diamonds on the dial, which was actually quite a nice piece. I love two-tone watches myself, so I was actually drawn to it for a little bit. But then again, Daytona is really not the watch for me. But she was ready to sell it, and I'm sure if she was going to sell it to me, it would have to be, like you said, maybe a second floor affair, maybe backroom kind of thing, because again, we can't have people look behind the scenes and realize the kind of game we are playing here at the authorized dealer.
And of course, they will never put a steel Daytona, because steel Daytona is not a precious watch, and they cannot make a lot of money. They will sell you the precious metal. That's how they make money. They don't make money from the steel watches. They make money from the precious, because as you know, the price of a Rolex precious metal, you're paying 3 times the price of gold. So you're not paying for the gold, obviously. You're paying for the brand that has. Yes,
They could probably charge a premium if they minted their own gold coins.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody does it, right? So the value of the gold is like what, $9,000, and you're paying 36, 37 for the watch, right?
But it's exhibition only anyways, right?
No, you can buy it.
It's
will
a
show it to you.
unfunctional. The other thing was I also put on the Sea Dweller again, for which I'm on a wait list.
Yes.
And of course, the whole thing is like, it's 10-10 and whatever. Now that she knows me, I've gone there several times, and we always have conversations on watches and on other stuff. She actually left me alone with the watch. So I wound it up. I set the time. It's ticking. It works. It's just a watch. It's not exhibition only. It's for the most part, it's a sham. I mean, they might have 1 or 2 dummy watches here and there to play more efficiently.
They don't.
But whatever I saw was very, very functional. It was a real Rolex watch fully. It's this whole game about, they do something with the movement. It's just foolish.
No. They don't do anything with the movement. In fact, it comes fully functional, and these watches are sold. What you see there will be sold in a week's time, in 2 weeks' time, in 3 weeks' time. It will be sold. And of course, in the vault, they have a Daytona steel. They're just not going to sell it to you and me, for sure, right? But they all have them. Do not think that they don't have watches. And they do hoard watches. Of course, they hoard watches. Now that, for instance, the colored OPs have been discontinued, all the ADs are hoarding the watches, and they will give it to their best customer as a gift, in brackets. But of course.
Jay Gray, sorry, you were asking something?
One word: certificates. Question mark.
What do you mean by that?
Certificates. Precious metal certificates are available to purchase. You don't hold the gold, but you hold a certificate.
Right. Do you think that's what they are trying to transform the watches into? Just a
question that popped into my head, and I spit it out of my mouth. That's all.
No, Jake, that's look. I have seen some of the these innovative guys running around YouTube and dealing with and trafficking with a lot of different stuff, come up with this idea, why not make basically partition watches into shares, and why don't you need the money and I hold the watch in a safe here in the UK as it gains value. I have had these kinds
of. What if the manufacturer, what if Rolex got into the game of selling certificates? Yes, you give me $40,000 now, and in 2 years you maybe get your watch. Just hold on to your certificate.
Well, look, that's actually
the certificate holder has that certificate, which is probably was going to be worth at the time of delivery of the watch.
I think it should be it should be this way, if you ask me. Certificate aside, they should have a model where you pay in full and sit tight. I don't mind that. I think, like, you know, if they say, okay, the prices are this, you pay in full and you wait for 6 or 8 months or even up to a year for delivery, I wouldn't mind that. For a model, for a watch that I want, I wouldn't mind that. They give me a guarantee, call it a certificate, call it something else, call it a contract, anything. But that's the thing. Rolex doesn't have a model like that. A lot of the more desirable companies don't have that because they don't need anything like that to sell their watches. They sell everything they make, and they have a demand that quadruples that supply. So they don't need to be. They're at a moment where they don't feel like they need to be innovative and inventive.
Yeah, they tried to do this model. Some of the authorized dealers tried to do this, but they run into problems a few years ago between buying and selling and between the price of the watch. And the problem is that it requires a lot of intermediation. One of the challenges is that Rolex, for instance, does not announce its price increases ahead of time to their authorized dealers. So
Okay.
the authorized dealers do not know when the price increase will come in. This year it was in January. Usually it's September, October. Usually, because they don't know if it's September, if it's October, sometimes it's November. The watch industry is not transparent, nor is it predictable. But you remember, they're not a publicly quoted company.
Right.
Rolex is a foundation.
Right. Which I think deserves a really deep, some deep inspection.
You know, one of the problems one of the ADs had doing this method, they did it for a year, and the problem was that they gave it. So I know this because it was a pilot project. So the AD did exactly what you said, and then there was a price increase, and then the guy came in to pick up the watch, and the authorized dealer said, "No, you need to pay for the increase." And the guy said, "No, I'm not going to pay for the increase."
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And they had this kind of problem all the time. The other problem they have is that it's not
But
easy, you know.
Professor, I mean, that's something they could have drafted into the initial, um, initial transaction. They could have said that, the buyer has to pay the list price at the time of purchase. It seems rather straightforward, doesn't it? It's their mistake, so they have to honor what they promised in the first place.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, you're asking something that an industry of their kind is not there yet. They're producing watches, they're not producing computers.
Yes.
And that changes a lot their mindset. You mentioned earlier Lange. Lange
Yes.
produces rarely 5,600 pieces. I mean, it's not a Toyota. They know very well the industry. They're very conservative. You have to remember, this is Switzerland. We're not talking about Japan. The Swiss are highly conservative. What they're doing now is probably their own revolution with all these gimmicky things, Omega and the Moon Watch and the Swatch Watch and all these nonsense business. But it is not an industry that is characterized by innovation outside of the typical conservative approach to selling watches. Whereas the industry outside, the buying community, has become very different. Young people, old people, investment, flippers, no flippers, the connoisseurs versus everybody else. It has taken the industry really by surprise. So I think once they try to, even they can do an application very easily to control the gray market, because once you buy the watch, you do get registered by name into this database, which is, the authorized database. So you cannot really go to the same authorized dealer and get somewhere else in another, let's say, state or county from the same authorized dealer a similar watch. So there is. Now, does this all go centrally to Rolex? No, and they could mitigate this if it goes all to Rolex through an app. But all this nonsense about, like a year ago, I remember there were people from the watch community who were saying, the authorized dealer allows me to buy only 3 professional steel watches a year. Rolex hasn't said that. Rolex never said you can only buy 3. You can buy 30 if you want, but the problem is the authorized dealer. They're the ones who want to contain and control the flow and give it to people, Look, at the end of the day, if you're good with your authorized dealer, whatever that means, usually it's the financial goodness, right? You're in good standing. You will get every watch you want. If you are in a bad situation, you're not going to get a watch. You will get the standard. Oh, here's the two-tone, Mr. Lord. Here's the diamond encrusted watch. Oh, here is the full gold thing. Buy 3 times premium, and then one day we will graduate you to the 3rd floor and have sex with the sales lady.
No,
the 4th floor.
Once again, we just want to watch, and I mostly want vintage watches anyway, so that I get tired even talking about it. I hate to cut our conversation short, but this has been a long day for me, and I still need to eat something before I go to bed. It's 11 p.m. here. If something comes through in the form of a PayPal contribution or Cash App, the addresses are there: PayPal lorteaspont@gmail.com, Cash App $LHVVV. We will go on for a little longer, but otherwise, I'm going to ask my panelists to add their last thoughts, share with us some of their final ideas, and then we will close. Big Meech, what do you think?
Guys, I think the answer is obvious. Bring Krispy Kremes to your dealer. Bring in candles. Woo them with gifts. All right, guys, this is the modern age. It's the only way to get hot steel sports. Buy the garbage. Buy the garbage. Buy the garbage Tudors and Breitlings and Bell and Rosses. Buy it and get you a Grail watch now.
I had you with the Krispy Kreme. I had you with the candles. I had you with Breitling and Tudor as well, but I'm never gonna stoop to the level of Bell and Ross and other stuff. So, what do you say, Jay Gray?
Bell and Ross, not even as a gift?
A gift to whom? I usually give gifts to people I like.
And you wouldn't gift the Bell and Ross then?
No, no. I mean Seiko Prospects seems great for gifts for me, for someone like younger and enthusiastic about watches. Maybe a vintage Omega, like from the 90s. That could be a nice gift for someone who could appreciate it. Yeah, Bell and Ross is not my thing.
Yeah, understood.
What about you, Professor? What are your last words to help us conclude today?
Yes, I think the Krispy Kreme is absolutely required. Um,
Well,
and
it's the morning for you. Maybe whet your appetite a little bit. You wanna go out and get yourself a donut with some coffee, perhaps.
yeah, no, you need the Krispy Kremes and you need the gifts. But I'm sure everybody else does them as well. So I don't know. It gets better and better. I've seen some people taking authorized dealers for lunch for dinners. I said this is getting worse and worse. I mean, soon you're going to be giving them, I don't know, cars. But it will also subside. I think if it comes from the heart, um, going back to the thing with the lady, she actually emailed me back. Um, she emailed me because she took my details, and she emailed my friend, and she said, "Look, it was great to meet you. I was actually hired back then by this person that you know." And I said, "Look, it's not a necessity. The only to get the watch. I mean, if you cannot get the watch, look." I said, "What you need to do is be a human." And she said, "Look, it's very difficult in this line of business where people are becoming very aggressive, very arrogant, very demanding, just because they heard somewhere that they need to get some watch. They come in here. It's completely crazy. I think if you go with kind of a human um, approach to your dealer, they're humans as well. I mean, they have needs. Obviously, all of us have. And
I
tell
was
your story.
I was talking about this in an earlier stream, because ultimately your relationship with the authorized dealer is a relationship with a particular sales associate, and that's a human being after all. And look, I mean, when it comes to friendship, familial relations, and even financial relations, there's no problem with bringing people gifts, giving them something thoughtful, inviting them out for meals. But that's usually done for relationships that already exist, not with in the desperate hope that you might get a watch at retail price someday in an unknown future. So I understand how it grates people the wrong way. For me, I have no problem treating my fellow human being with respect, remembering their name. On my way, if I'm passing by something interesting, yeah, why not grab them, something sweet also, no problem. But
Yeah, it's not meant to be because these people, remember, the salespeople are not meant to be in this situation, and you're not meant to be in a situation where you need to constantly play into this relationship. I'll tell you something. I live in a place where there is an authorized dealer in the UK, and I went to see him the first time I moved here. And they were very snobbish, very arrogant. Um, and that doesn't go very far in life. They might carry themselves for a little bit, but for the long haul, it's not going to help them unless they have as a client a queen and maybe the sons. Well, not all of them have the money now, her sons, but it doesn't take you very far. And I think both sides have been a bit surprised. Buyers should not be in the business of buying Krispy Kreme, for God's sake. We're buying something of a luxury, and now suddenly we have to deliver Krispy Kremes and creams and soaps and ties, and I've heard
see,
all kinds of stuff.
here's the funny thing: the Krispy Kreme story is about Aussie expat, and he was absent today because he was watching a movie with his wife. He just dropped by when we started talking about Krispy Kreme. Now he says, wow, still going. Just finished Batman. It was really good. No watches, though. No, there weren't any watches, unfortunately. I was hoping that they would stick with the Reverso, since that was for Val Kilmer in Batman Forever. That was in the Nolan trilogy with Christian Bale. But yeah, there were no watches that we could see or identify on Bruce Wayne's wrist. I was expecting to see a BLNR on an emo Bruce Wayne, and it says LOL. Candles! Chunkster says, I don't, Lord, but I do love me the square divers. I'm a desk diver lover. For me, obviously, I like round-shaped watches. I love a nicely proportioned oyster case, especially the vintage versions, pre-ceramic. I do like my rectangular watches as well. You know, I prefer the Reverso, but I admire the tank. I love the Gondolo. Great. The square stuff, it just doesn't appeal to me. That's why I also run away from these sportier Reversos like the Transport, like the Squadra. They never appeal to me. So it's, I think, you know, more than dissing the entire brand, that square-shaped watch being their signature, I just shy away from it. And again, it's my desperate attempt for some sort of comic relief, and I'm just not talented that way. So hopefully you didn't take it personally, Chunkster. All right, well, with that said, we're gonna close with Aussie Expat's last words. Hey, the creams led to something far more valuable than my steel watches. My sales associate is honestly my best friend here in Las Vegas. Yes.
So does that mean he's been to the 3rd floor?
You're probably
No.
to the 4th floor.
I wanted Aussie to anger Archie a little more by saying that that he's gonna make his sales associate a godparent, because he just had the lovely arrival of his second child.
Yes.
And genuinely, we talked about this before on the panel and behind the scenes as well, that he really has an authentic friendship with this person now. So I said, you know, let's wind up the pontiff a little more and tell him, like, you know, forget about the Krispy Kreme. I made my Rolex AD, my sales associate, my godparent, you know, the godparent to my child. And let's see how Archie will react. But I think that's too dangerous of a game to play with the pontiff. He might just explode.
He'd blow a fuse.
No, why bother? Just Aussie Expat. Good to see your message, and just roll with it, man. Don't worry about Archie.
Hey guys, we're done with the live stream today. Please don't forget to upvote on your way out. I really appreciate your presence and support. Thank you for being here on the panel, supporting me in the chat with your questions, with your requests, with your friendly banter, with everything you share, all the kind words. I really appreciate it. If you want to reach me, my email is lordhellespontv@gmail.com. You can reach to me with any questions. If you want me to do personalized videos with any of your requests, you know, it can be a deep dive into the history of a brand. It can be an exploration of a particular model and its genealogy. It can be a review of your collection with a dedicated live stream where I get to talk to you and learn more about you, your life, your lifestyle. That's a very good genre for this channel. I really enjoy those conversations. I had one with Joe, and it was just great. It's one of the best videos so far. And if you want to encourage me to run these live streams more often, create more new content, some new content coming tomorrow, in fact, on the JLC Master Control 30th anniversary watches. So check that out. But if you want to encourage me, consider making a PayPal donation to lordhellespontv@gmail.com, lordhellespontv@gmail.com. And I also have a Cash App, which is connected to $LHVVV, $LHVVV. Thank you,
How
guys.
much to get you to read a 1,000-page book?
We will consider that behind the scenes, Jay Gray. Take care. Bye.